October 7th, 2023, 3,000 Hamas-led terrorists invaded Israel from the Gaza Strip. They killed 1,200 people in Israel, mostly civilians, and kidnapped 253 more to Gaza. In response, Israel launched an offensive aimed at removing Hamas from power in Gaza and releasing the hostages. Jews all around the world have been deeply affected by the war, including the Jewish communities in and around Bergen County, New Jersey. Since the outbreak of the war, the local Jewish community has been rallying in support for Israel, packing thousands of duffel bags full of supplies that Israel's soldiers and internally displaced families need, and more. Yeshivat Frisch, located in Paramus, New Jersey, has taken part in the local war effort. Yeshivat Frisch is a modern Orthodox Jewish high school with around 1,000 students, most of whom spend a gap year following graduation living and studying in Israel. In addition, Frisch has over 50 alumni currently serving in the Israeli Defense Forces. Many Frisch students and faculty were in Israel on October 7th and experienced the outbreak of the war firsthand. Following the outbreak of the war, Frisch students geared up to help support Israel, saying prayers, attending rallies, raising money, and more. On October 7th, Hamas did not just attack Israel. Hamas attacked the Jewish people.
I woke up to a siren. At first, I thought it was like a dream. I remember my mom busting down our door and shaking us up, telling us that something's happening in Israel. Like the information was very sparse, and she said that you have to get into, we were very lucky we happened to have a miklat, we happened to have a shelter right across from our room, which was also the room of this Hasidic family that we really hadn't met throughout the whole trip. And all of a sudden we were bursting into their room saying that we need to come for to use their room as a bomb shelter.
I had like this gut feeling that something bad was happening. I didn't know how to like explain it to my mom.
I first heard in shul, somebody said that there was a terrorist attack and that 60 people were killed. And I just couldn't believe it.
Suddenly we start hearing the siren. So my son, my oldest son, ran out and thought maybe it was an ambulance, and then it keeps on going. And my first thought was, no way, this can't be happening.
They've had sirens before. There was definitely something that felt very different and weird this time.
My dad told me that over 150 terrorists came into Israel, and they came to a music festival that my family friend was supposed to DJ at. And he told me that my family was okay and that everyone was okay, but over 100 people were already dead, and a lot of people were injured, and it was terrifying.
I have 2 kids studying in Israel this year. It was very scary. We had no idea what was going on. I didn't know where they were, what their experience was.
I gathered the kids all together really quickly. We ran out to the hallway. The whole apartment was gathering in the stairwell because the stairwell has concrete on either side. They said it's not important to go to the machzan now. They said, don't worry about this, don't worry about this. But there was another siren. We go into the stairwell. The gentleman who had been saying, it's fine, don't worry, don't cry, he looked white. Now he was a Chiloni, he was not an observant Israeli Jew. So I said to him, I thought you said it's fine, why do you look so concerned? He said to me, after Shabbat, you're going to see images and pictures you never saw in your life. Because something went terribly wrong in the South. And that's when we started getting really nervous.
They told everyone that they were closing shul. It was like an eerie feeling, like the streets, which in Efrat are usually like filled with kids, and especially on Simchas Torah, suddenly felt very empty. And the mayor of Efrat came around, told everyone that they needed to turn on their phones. And then at that point, the only people like in the streets were people leaving to go. They were called up already.
About half of the yeshiva by the end of the day was gone, maybe a third, half. I'm not sure how much exactly, but a significant portion of the guys in yeshiva are reserve soldiers. And so when Shira Shir Dalid, Shir Gimel was there already. But when Shir Hey and Shir Vav and all the other guys started disappearing, checking their phones and leaving to the army in uniform, we figured out something was going on.
There happened to be a worker who had access to the news, and we asked her what's going on. And she said, "Oh, a couple of terrorists breached through Gaza, and right now they want everyone to stay inside just while they look for them." There was no information about any casualties. We didn't know about anything yet. All we thought is just that there was a slight security risk that they couldn't locate these terrorists.
My brother-in-law, my sister, and my brother-in-law's friend were all staying at my house for Sukkot, and my brother-in-law's friend is not as religious as us, so he was on his phone when he got called back early in the morning to come to Israel, so he told us, like, there's a war.
That night, we learned about everything. It was horrific, terribly heartbreaking, and everything changed.
I started crying because I was so overwhelmed. It was just a lot to process. Never in a million years did I think that this could happen.
Everyone got together in the Midrash and we started saying Tehillim. And we basically spent, I don't know how long, quite a while, reading Tehillim responsively. We were basically screaming out to Hashem for help.
When I heard that there was a war, it didn't process as much. It was when I heard that my brother-in-law and my brother were able to get called back to go back to the army. At that, I realized I have a lot of friends who live there, and it just all came in really fast.
When I got the text, my phone wasn't on, so the second I saw it, I turned on my phone quickly, make sure my family was okay. I happened to be able to call them, and it was the middle of the night there, but they were no, everything's okay, don't worry about it. And even though, thank God, they were okay, a lot of people weren't.
During their invasion on October 7th, Hamas kidnapped 253 people from Israel to Gaza. Among the kidnapped is Idan Alexander, a 20-year-old lone soldier in the IDF from Tenafly, New Jersey, who was stationed near the Gaza Strip on the morning of October 7th. Born in Tel Aviv, Idan grew up in Tenafly and joined the Golani Brigade's 51st Battalion as a lone soldier after graduating high school in 2022. The morning of October 7th, Idan called his parents and told them not to worry about him. That was the last time they heard from him. A week later, Idan's family was informed that Idan had been taken hostage to Gaza. Idan is one of the many hostages who have not yet been returned to Israel.
Omer Nutra, he's from Long Island. He worked at Nyack, which is where I grew up. He worked with my mom. And I remember seeing him all the time, just super smiley, super jumpy, just really a happy kid. And he made Aliyah after he graduated high school. And he was abducted from a tank with his troops.
The yeshivas had about 6 Bogrim total that have fallen in combat. And every single one of the Levias has been devastating.
I got a call from my mom saying that my brother was leaving, just got a flight, he's leaving at 4. It was 2. So I was really stressed out. My heart dropped. I could barely breathe. And I said I need to get home right now. I didn't have a car. And someone who I'm not really close with immediately noticed something was wrong, took me home. And when I saw my brother, I gave him a huge hug, I said bye to him, and it turned out to be, completely, his flight got delayed to the next day, so I had more time to process, but it doesn't make dropping him off the next day any easier.
My cousins are older than me, and a bunch of them are in reserves. All of my dad's friends' kids are in reserves. People from camp that we got very close with, who married people from camp, are all in the army serving.
It's terrifying because I really feel I should be home and I should be with my family. And like my little sister, she's 5, and she got off the bus after school and she had to like lie on the ground because there was a rocket. And like my little brother jumped on her so she wouldn't be scared. But like, that's terrifying. Like, she's a 5-year-old kid. Like, how's that fair that she's dealing with this and I'm not?
I felt heartbroken and very upset at the fact I couldn't be there.
I wasn't like, I can't believe I'm here and I want to get out of here. It's actually the opposite. Like, I didn't want to leave.
The way our family put it, if we weren't living out of a suitcase, we probably would still be there right now. It was a very weird feeling to see the whole country around you gearing up to try to face the problem, and we felt like we were running away from it.
Following the outbreak of the war on October 7th, there has been a dramatic increase in anti-Semitism worldwide, including in the United States. Accusations blaming Israel for Hamas's attack circulated on social media. There have been many anti-Israel protests, some of which have become violent, where protesters have called for the destruction of the State of Israel and therefore its people. Many have denied the atrocities Hamas committed on October 7th. This spike in anti-Semitism has been especially evident on America's college campuses, where student groups have held anti-Israel protests and targeted Jewish students and organizations.
I remember those first 2 days, starting with President Biden's incredible speech of solidarity with Israel, speaking about how massacres on people and acts of violence are never accepted. And I remember just seeing the country's unified response in those first 2 to 3 days and just thinking that people are finally getting it. But then here we are, people already starting to forget.
SJP, which is Students for Justice in Palestine, which is a relatively active organization on campus. They've been rallying almost continuously, starting about the week after October 7th. They took over an area in the Student Center. They went over and did a sit-in in front of the president's office. They actually took over the part of the business school.
Morning of October 7th, before I think I even knew what happened, Harvard Undergraduate Palestinian Solidarity Committee, which is an undergraduate group, along with a bunch of other groups, put out a statement basically blaming Israel. They still have not apologized. Some of the other groups have, and I happen to like to think that the PSC represents a small but very vocal minority.
In an effort to support Israel as much as possible during this time, Frisch students have launched numerous projects. They have said prayers, sent letters to soldiers, packed bags of supplies, put up hostage posters, attended rallies, written to elected officials, raised money, gone on missions to Israel, and heard from speakers. Efforts are ongoing and will not stop until every hostage is home and Israel has prevailed over terror. Thoughts of Israel are never far from the minds of the Frisch students, many of whom have relatives and friends who live in Israel, and all of whom feel a special connection to the Jewish state.
I was so sad and I was in such mourning that I look back on those early days and I'm not sure I did a great job as head of school. Once we started pivoting from just this intense sadness to call for action, we realized we have to organize ourselves in terms of the rallies and making our voice heard, the voice for peace, the voice for the defense of the Israeli people.
Hearing the voice of the American Jewish community saying, we support you, Israel, we are one people, whoever attacks you attacks us, is a very powerful message. To be imo anochi b'tzara, I am with you in the pain. It doesn't take away the pain, but it spreads it out over a larger number of people.
Our service to Israel from this country is we need to kind of have Israel's back and make sure that our elected officials know where their community stands in terms of their relationship with Israel.
The voice of the young is more important at this point than the voice of the older generation.
I'm the head of Cougars for Israel, and after I heard about it, immediately, after Yom Tif, I started texting people from Federation saying how can I help out, what can I do, emailing Rabbi Ciner, Rabbi Wald, saying, is there anything Frisch needs? I'm willing to do it. I heard about like the volunteering stuff at Frisch, like to donate stuff, like to bring in stuff and to pack the bags at shuls. I helped run and plan an event in Teaneck.
Sending the soldiers what they say they want and need.
I've added more Tehillim into my davening. I've been running a bunch of things here at school. I ran a table for Letters for Soldiers, just like give a little light in this horrible time.
Really drew inspiration from the students. You know, they, in a whole host of different ways, they took initiatives, they created social action projects, they had tzedakah drives, they had chesed drives, and they galvanized the Frisch students. It really was not me at all, it was the students. And I think all the adults in the building really gained an incredible amount of comfort and inspiration from watching what our students did.
As the war goes on, Frisch students continue to advocate for Israel and the release of the hostages. They, like Jews around the world, have not forgotten the atrocities that Hamas committed against Israel and the Jewish people on October 7th. Yeshivat Frisch stands with Israel.
כולם ביחד, אף אחד פה לא בודד, שישרפו המלחמות. עם ישראל חי, אם לא נשכח תמיד להיות מאוחדים. עם ישראל חי, בעליות, בירידות, גם בשעות הכי קשות. הקדוש ברוך הוא שומר עלינו, אז מי יכול עלינו? כי אין לנו עוד מדינה. תעשה שלום בינינו, שמור על ילדינו, כי לא אבדה האמונה. עם ישראל, עם ישראל חי. עם ישראל חי. אור ארצי נחלתנו, לא תיפול כעת רוחנו, מסביב ברזל של חרבות. ויונה תפרוס כנפיים, התקווה בת שנות 2000, עוד נצא לשיר ברחובות. כי עם הנצח לעולם לא מפחד, אפילו כשקשה לראות. כולם ביחד, אף אחד פה לא בודד, שישרפו המלחמות.